This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
This house puts the blame majorly on tax evasion and tax avoidance for the low tax base. As team of farmers, we say yes and yes and yes 100 times because we realize that whatsoever team negative has said falls into our case of tax evasion and tax avoidance. Because when you look at their points of inefficiency in tax collection, weak tax laws and everything they have said, it falls under tax evasion. Tax evasion happens through these ways. So when they say that they are looking at the inefficient collection means of taxes, which means they are looking at the loopholes which are in the government. We told you that the tax avoidance is exploiting loopholes in the system to avoid paying taxes or not to pay taxes. So if someone is avoiding taxes, what is the cause of that? Because there is inefficient collection systems, or because the government has failed, or because the tax revenue authority has failed to catch up with these people. So these people are evading taxes or are avoiding taxes legally. So,
don't you think the existence of those particular loopholes in the system is because of the weak existing laws?
Now, this is what I am telling you. Yes, they are weak existing laws. We understand that. But you realize that the weak existing laws are the ones which have failed to put an end to tax evasion and tax avoidance. So by the time the weak existing laws have failed to put an end to tax evasion and avoidance, which means that we stand our case, and the truth is you come to realize that the main cause, because this is what it all comes to, or this is what it all brings in, because the tax evasion and avoidance have all brought about a low tax base. So we'd come and tell you, they came here and talked about our definition having faults, but they used different words to mean the same thing. Because at the end of the day, we are debating a similar resolution with similar meanings. They talked about a legal framework of taxation. The legal framework, the absence of the legal framework is caused by the tax avoidance, because these people are looking into the exploitation of these loopholes so that they don't pay taxes. Now,
you are honorable.
Yes?
Yes, did your definition of tax evasion include anything beyond concealment of information?
I'll get to you. Now, when we look into our case, why are we as team of farmers blaming tax evasion and tax avoidance? Because for the low tax base we have in Uganda, or for the low tax base, because we told you our parameter is Uganda. So now, why we are blaming the tax evasion and avoidance is because it leads to tax revenue It leads to reduced tax revenue directly. Because now when someone is not paying taxes, or when the people who are supposed to pay taxes, or when the 50% of people who are supposed to pay taxes in Uganda are not doing their duty, so then it affects the tax base directly. We realize then the main problem we are facing here, or the main way to bring about or to increase or to widen the tax base of Uganda is by affecting or working upon the problems of tax evasion and tax avoidance. That's why we see the government of Uganda brought up, or the URA brought up a tax system, the IFRIS. IFRIS has been brought up because they realized most of our tax base has been evaded and has been avoided. So they brought up IFRIS to make sure every taxpayer pays taxes, shifting the tax burden to other taxpayers. Because these people are avoiding taxes, or because they are not paying taxes, we look at a Uganda whereby the few people who are not able to pay taxes, because we told you 100 of the top businesses in Uganda pay 70% of Uganda's taxes. So if these people are evading taxes, or if they are not paying the taxes as they are supposed to, so then we realize that the burden is shifted to other taxpayers who may not be able to bring up a bigger or a reasonable amount of taxes as required to sustain Uganda or to widen the tax base. So, we realize that the low tax base is caused by tax evasion and tax avoidance because of the points we have told you, because it is affected directly and shifts the burden. Thank you. Proud to have.
So, panel and the house at large, today we are faced by a group of farmers who come forward and they tell us that tax evasion and tax avoidance are the ones that bring about a weak tax system. Well, you realize that tax avoidance is literally about someone utilizing the loopholes available in the tax system. And so how can the tax system have loopholes if it is not weak? That is why we as Team Negative decide to front this weak tax framework as the reason as to why we have a low tax base. Furthermore, they come about and they tell us about corruption and embezzlement. Well, this corruption and embezzlement are only taking place because the tax system is weak in a way that the laws that are set are not implemented, and yet this legal framework is supposed to include implementation of laws. Like, for example, we can have an MP being involved in corruption, but when he's involved in corruption, he does not suffer the punishment that he's supposed to suffer. And so this is a weak tax system leading to the corruption, which they are crediting to be the factor that leads to our low tax base. And so at the end of the day, the weak legal system still stands. Furthermore, they are telling us about the IFRIS and how it is being a good policy, but the IFRIS has limited outreach to the formal sector. On top of that, it is limited towards people who have access to electronic devices. And so this IFRIS is not the best, not the strongest policy, and so we realize that the tax system is still weak, and this is what furthermore keeps on bringing about the tax evasion. Allow me to build on our case. We came about and we told you about the ineffective tax administration. Well, the tax administration is basically how the taxes in the country are collected, and this includes stuff like monitoring and so on. Well, according to the Observer of 10th April 2024, Uganda smuggles goods which are worth 546.6 million USD. Through the smuggling of goods that could have been taken care of if our tax system was strong enough to actually have people there, denied, to have people there to handle these smugglers before they took effect, denied. Before they took effect, we could be able to retain this tax, and this just shows how the weak tax system still brings about tax evasion and tax avoidance, hence bringing about the low tax base. Furthermore, we as the negators, we came about and we told you about, the value of this debate is being able to debate and debate and identify these challenges in society, incentivize these challenges to be solved, and our secondary analysis will nuance how we best solve the problem. Evaluation and amendments of the tax system are required in order for us to have a stronger tax system that will be able to solve these problems that we are facing, and hence be able to widen our tax base as a country. Furthermore, we as their farmers, we came about and we still told you about the weak tax base. Well, there is illegal importation, i.e. smuggling of timber from DRC to Uganda, according to the Observer of April 10, 2024. This takes place through authorities who is the process of these trucks that are carrying illegal materials at the border points. Hence, this illegal smuggling of goods into our country is able to progress. When these goods come in illegally, we are not able to tax them, and for that reason, our weak legal system and framework is still able to hurt our tax base by lowering it. With that, allow me to trace my case.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.